Okay, so I want to stay there for a minute because big public universities, local community leaders, states like to point fingers at them and say you're not quite doing enough for the state. We know, for example, across the country right now, that trust in higher education has dropped to historic lows. People just don't think it's doing enough as an institution, big I institution across the country, enough for the issues that we're facing today. So how do you combat these perceptions that Michigan is just this elite public university now?
I would say, and I've speak to all people around the state, politicians, and all people at the federal level as well, that you'd have to ask them, but I would say that they have noticed that we're at the table more, that we take this responsibility even more seriously than we have. I would argue that the University of Michigan has been involved at each of these levels of responsibility for a long time. But I'm very proud of the fact that our leaders, our deans, our faculty, and our students are very involved at each of these levels through activism, through service. If you look at any of these initiatives that are occurring, say at the state level, to your point, we are really ramping up what we do, for example, in terms of economic development and technology transfer in the state. The governor has really responded, Lieutenant Governor has really responded by including us on significant committees and commissions. We are very involved with the other universities in the state, not only the R1 universities, but community colleges, to really think about how to create the talent and to retain the talent that's going to be required for the vibrancy of the state economy. And we're also engaged very actively with other institutions, but also the federal government, ensuring that we remain competitive as a nation. And so I would say that I think that if you talk to people, I hope that they will point out that we're at the table and we're very engaged and we're ramping up our involvement.
So what do you think, you've been obviously in higher ed for a long time, what do you think is at the center then of this lack of trust or this declining trust in higher education writ large across the country?
I think it's multifactorial. I think that one, it's an issue of communication. I think that the sort of view that universities have for a long time been ivory towers is partially true. Universities haven't been very good at articulating their commitment, their passion, haven't really gone outside of the campus boundaries in some cases. I don't think it's true at Michigan. So part of it's communication. And if you don't talk about your involvement, people don't know about it and assume that it's not happening. So part of it is communication. I would say the other part of the distrust has to do with the question of ROI, whether or not people really believe that what students are experiencing on campus, in the classroom, in the laboratory, how it relates to their future careers and their future impact on the community and on society in general. And so I think that it's time for introspection, and we're doing that as an institution, and the sector is doing that as well. I think it's healthy. Many things have changed since I was a college student. And so it is important, I think, for all of us to think about how we integrate into society, how we start to look at what we teach and how we can prepare our future graduates to contribute to different fields. So I think it's very healthy. It's happened in entire history of higher education, and this is a good time for us to do that as well. So part of it is an appropriate question of alignment of what we do in the wants and needs of society, but as also in terms of what our students want. Mm-hmm. Students are different from when you and I were in college, and we need to listen to them and incorporate that into the path forward. And I think it's healthy.